Hey, y'all. Welcome to the Champagne Wives podcast. I'm your host, Kelly.
And I'm your co-host, Nicole. Hey,
Hi,
gals.
Boo.
How are you?
I'm doing good. My
Yeah.
voice is coming back a little bit, but it's
Yeah.
still a little raspy.
It's a little raspy.
Yeah, but feeling good. Feeling great.
Feeling better.
Better. Oh, yes.
Okay.
I'm coming up out of the,
Say it.
what is it? The lunar
The
eclipse?
eclipse
The
season.
eclipse season.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm at like the end of my eclipse season, and I feel pretty good,
Yes.
actually.
I'm,
I've been
I'm really
through
happy to
I've
hear
been to
this.
hell and back for the
Yeah.
last 2 weeks, literally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
So
I am not even into astrology.
you aren't.
I am not, but that was the only way that could explain, like,
Mhm.
literally how
What the hell was going on?
what the hell
The last
was going on
3
with me. But
weeks.
like, it was on a deep emotional level,
Yeah.
like a very, very, very deep emotional and spiritual level. And so on the other side of this, I kind of feel like there's been like a rebirth, so to speak. And so
Mm.
yeah, it was looking bleak a couple of weeks ago, child.
That's the word I
It
had
was,
in
it was
my
looking
mouth.
bleak. I was like, take me now.
Take me to
Take me
my
to the king, child. Because I just, it was too much. It was literally too much, but I'm almost through it.
You're through it.
Yeah.
So yes, we're not gonna spend a lot of time. You know, I like astrology. But your Scorpio moon and your Scorpio rising went through the ringer from basically October 25th
Yeah.
through November 8th.
I'm hoping though that I got what I needed to get from this.
This was a very deep,
It was very deep.
deep eclipse.
Yeah. So I'm hoping though that like I got what I needed to get and it wasn't just like a waste of like.
Oh, it wasn't.
Okay.
It wasn't.
Okay.
It wasn't.
Yeah, I hope it's just not a fluke. I hope that like this feeling on the other side of this, like I'll maintain, you know, for like until the next time.
It's supposed to pretty much take you through like May of next year.
Okay.
So all the lessons, everything that exited your world and like during this eclipse season, exited for a reason. Things that don't serve us, we let them stay where they are. And it's really about taking the lessons from the introspective work that we did
and carrying them through. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
To the other side.
But can I just give you a round of applause for like helping me navigate through this? Because the way you were like, oh, I didn't want to tell you, but you're like, I didn't want to tell you, but since you're coming into like a rough season. And I'm like, you could have warned me or prepared me. But I think if you would have told me, I don't know if I would have believed you as much as like I believed you when I was actually in it and looking for like an explanation as to why I was going through it. And so just having you there to hold my hand and help like navigate me through that was everything. Because girl, goodbye.
Right. I mean, we start, and for me, it's odd because I'm a Taurus sun, so it hit me on the front end and it hit you on the back end, which is odd because it was a lunar eclipse in Taurus, which is where it should have affected me, but it affected you with all your Scorpios. And I was just here to provide guidance when it looked like things were getting to the point of no return. But
I know you were just like, I didn't want to say anything.
I'm biting my tongue.
Kelly, this is what you're going through. This is your experience. And she started reading. I was just like, oh, okay, girl. And sending me stuff from like people online. Yeah.
Yeah, it was wild.
Yeah.
So,
thank you. Every time. I'm glad it didn't spill over, y'all, because the way the GPS had us
bumping,
girl, on the back roads.
I promise you, we're going to get our lives together.
One day.
We're going to get our lives together. So still so excited about the last episode that we released, Love and Sex Therapy.
Oh my God. I love that episode.
The people love
much.
it too.
I'm sure. Like it was just so good.
The people love it too. And there were times where I was like, I cannot believe we're talking about this. I cannot believe we're talking about this. But I was so happy that we were talking about it. And when we were having the discussion with Tamara, one of the things that she had mentioned was how people are, really concerned more often than they probably should be about the optics, what people think about them. And maybe they're staying in relationships a little longer than they should on account of how it will be perceived if they were to leave a relationship.
Yeah.
And it got me thinking about what is it in our, actually had me ask the question, what is it that goes on in our minds, right,
Mhm.
as women, that has us staying in situations that don't serve us? And are those lessons taught to us at a younger age, right, that are just
Yeah.
kind of carrying, we're carrying with us through our lives?
Yeah.
And as we were episode planning, one of the thoughts that you had was like, hey, like, what is something that you would, tell your younger self?
Yeah.
Right. And what's the advice that your younger self needed to hear? Um, and I'll
Like,
be honest, like, it might have been, hey, don't stay in that relationship as long as you probably have because
yeah.
it doesn't serve you. That
Yeah.
would have been a wonderful piece of advice to get when I was, in my teens and
Yeah.
20s. So thought it would be good for us to just talk about
Yeah.
what are some of those nuggets of
Yeah.
bits of advice that you wish or that you would tell your younger self today,
Yeah.
given
So
your experiences.
be the
Cheers.
woman that you needed as a girl, right?
Bingo.
Be the woman that you needed as a girl. Cheers. So yeah, I see for me, I think it's a lot deeper. And we talked about it on the episode with Tamara. Just a little bit like surface level, like because we talked about the work that needed to be done on the side of a partner who is toxic, right? And who's bringing toxicity to the relationship.
Yeah.
We talked about the narcissist and the level of work in depth that they needed to kind of go into to kind of resolve whatever their issues were that were internal to help them kind of overcome being a narcissist. But I
Right.
think work needs to be done on the other side too, and different kind of work, right? And so I think that when people stay in a situation that does not serve them longer than they should, when like all the signs are there, all the red flags are there, I think there are some deep rooted issues there as well.
Within the person.
Yeah, within that person. And it may be due to, self esteem, I mean, just insecurity, just based off of maybe previous relationships or,
Yeah.
how they were raised, things maybe they liked as a child or as a little girl that just
Yeah.
maybe not, that they're not confident in their own self worth.
Yeah. And confidence, we think that it's very common.
Yeah.
And I think we always talk about social media, and it looks like everybody has a whole bunch of self confidence on social media.
Yeah.
But a lot of that is a facade and a mask, right? To mask a lack of confidence. Um, a question. What did you do when you were young? Like, what are the things that like you or your friends did to kind of instill and or build
Girl, again, I, literally, I swear, like, had a great family. Mom was there, dad was there, sister was there. But I think that, as girls and as women, we're not necessarily made in like a cookie cutter form
confidence?
of like, in the image of like our mothers. So there's different interests, different desires, different dreams and different goals. And so I didn't have the tools as a child to identify what the things were that I was missing. I didn't have the verbiage, right? I didn't have the words. And so um, I think as I got older, I built a community of ladies or friends to lean on, to watch, to learn from, to grow, to, share ideas.
Right.
And we talked about this, right? Like for the longest time, I was just like very guarded and closed off with like the people that I allowed into my life,
Yeah.
in my friendship circle.
I had to
But
fight and claw my way in.
But exactly. But as I've gotten older, I've realized that, you can experience people in different ways, and certain people, I'm not saying like let everybody in, but certain people
Right.
can add just such a great value to your life.
Yeah.
And I take away from my friendships or different women the things that I want and the things that, I want to be.
Right.
And so I think that is important. I think surrounding yourself with a sister circle of people that you can learn from, grow from, talk to, emulate, etc.
Yeah. Girlfriends. I think growing up, I underestimated the importance of, having a really great group of girlfriends in my life. And I always was that person who had individual friendships, really close and deep relationships individually, but collectively, not so much. And I'm with you. As I have gotten older, I have literally been so intentional about making sure that I build my village and have my village of women who are very much kind of representative of all the sides and dimensions of Nicole.
Yeah.
So, there's going to be the wild and crazy part of the village. There's going to be the I just want to be at home and relax part of the village.
Yeah.
The ones that, are going to literally look deep into my soul and tell me,
Yeah.
this isn't serving you part of the village. So yeah, having that group of oh so important, and has helped me figure out who I am, right? Because you got to wonder, like, why has this collection of dynamic women come together? And you realize, well, because you are a dynamic woman, right? And so it's really helped me build confidence, and it has instilled confidence in me as I continue to try and age gracefully.
Right. Exactly. And I think that is taking care of yourself is such of the utmost importance. And I think that a lot of the times, as girls, we grow into women and we don't necessarily deal with like our childhood traumas, right? And there's different degrees, not to say that like all traumas are just like really deep wounds, but I feel like no one goes unscathed, right? Everyone has their issues. And I think, you know, going from a girl to a woman, those issues that you have don't necessarily go away.
Right.
And if you don't really do the work, really to kind of take care of yourself and try to heal some of those wounds that you experienced as a child, there is a possibility where you may have on paper, be amazing,
Right.
have all the things, beautiful, accomplished, smart, but have such a deep level of insecurity that you're not even able to identify why.
Identify why, or even be able to receive and or welcome good
Exactly.
blessings into your life.
Exactly.
And yeah, trauma is definitely relative, but as you do grow up, like you said, no one's really unscathed from it. But what I know to be true is how you handle it, how you view it, the lens through which you look at it, and yes, the work that you're willing to do. I think all that in concert allows for you to not have that define you. Right. And define how you show up, define how you show up in relationships, how you show up in friendships, etc.
Yeah. And now it's so easy to access information. I mean, outside of your group of friends and, the women that you surround yourself with and look to, there's so much online that you can Google. Yeah, Google. Like we always joke about it, but like if I had this information at my fingertips in my 20s,
I'd be a different bitch.
I'll be a whole different bitch. Like, child, girl, I swear to God, like it would be like no nonsense. And I have so much respect for like the generation under us because I feel like they do have such a high level of confidence and they a very low tolerance for bullshit. And so when a situation does not serve them,
they're out.
They're out.
They're out. And they're not necessarily they're not taking a whole lot of time to make the decision.
No.
They're realizing that like this is not aligned to, the highest version of myself or going to help me become that highest version of myself. I'm out.
As good as it may look on paper, right? This guy may do all the things and provide all the things, but not showing up, emotionally in one way or the other. And they're just willing to, take that L,
and move on.
For their peace, child. For their peace. It was just priceless. And I'm so happy but envious of that because had I had the tools in my toolbox in my 20s, I mean, I think the level of empowerment, that it would have given me at that young of an age would have just been so amazing and pivotal in my life.
Yeah, and I would say we don't know what we don't know. That's right. And we didn't know what we didn't know back then. I mean, the images and examples that we had were, people staying in jobs for years decades at a time. And now millennials are like, oh, what? You don't let me bring my pet to work? I'm out. Right? So we stayed in jobs. Right. Our parents stayed in jobs for years. Yes,
the stability, the work hard.
Relationships for years, decades, even though those relationships didn't necessarily serve them. So we didn't know what we didn't know. But I feel so thankful to be in the generation that is that had the opportunity to see that, but also sees how brave and emboldened these younger generations are, and to not feel that far removed
Yeah.
from being able to take some of that and apply it to my personal life, right? And say, all right, like this doesn't serve me, or this job doesn't serve me, this
relationship doesn't serve me.
So I'm gonna make the conscious decision to exit.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I think that, to your point, we were raised with a sense of different values, right? Like go to school, be independent, work hard, you know, get a
That's why there's so many
career.
alpha females
That's
out there.
exactly.
Child.
There's so many alpha females in this generation.
Yes,
Exactly, so many alpha
yes.
females in this generation. But we're talking about healing. We're talking about something else. And
Mhm.
so I do agree with you that we were born on the cusp. We still have like some of those old school values, but we're not too far removed from this newer generation,
Right.
where we can apply some of what's going on today in our lives because we're still, young enough to be able to do so.
1000%. So let's talk a little bit about this younger generation that has so much access, and the blessing and yet the curse of having so much access. Because I feel like, yes, if you have good people around you, you are able to have a strong sense of discernment around what it is that you want to take and what it is that you're just going to leave where it is.
Yeah.
According to what you see maybe on the internet, social media, what have you.
Yeah.
But the downside is that, people who don't necessarily have that level of discernment are making decisions that look good, but they're not necessarily looking at it through a very realistic lens. And I think about that for my daughter, right? And it's like, as we always say, don't always believe what you see on social media, because at the end of the day, what works for one might not work for another. So,
can we just talk about the social media era? Because my daughter, she's on Likey. She's not on TikTok. I won't let her have a TikTok, but she's on Likey.
Yeah, we don't do TikTok.
And she was just like, I have such and such followers. And I'm like, stop right there. Followers on social media does not matter. It does not validate you. Don't worry about that. Like starting now, because again, like we're still at that age where we understand what is in front of our girls, right? Like we're not too far removed from what's going on today in pop culture and in the culture and society, that we are blind to what they may potentially face in the future. And so for me, it like starts right there. Like that is not important. Don't worry about the level of followers. Just do your thing. You like to dance. That's great, but it doesn't matter who is following you and who's not, because all that matters is that you're loved deeply.
Deeply. And that is I know last season we had the, 20-something shenanigans episode where we were like, what's something that you would tell your 20-something-year-old self? And it to me that it was very, very hard to separate these two episodes, because that need for validation, the number of followers, the number of likes, and to me again that translates to the need for validation, or just getting endorphins from that. That is one thing that I just feel like I like you need to make sure that my daughter understands, and even my son just understands. Hey, look, here's a foot.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, it's not about what everyone else thinks about you and how much everyone else likes you, but do you like and love yourself?
That part.
Do you like and love yourself? And have you spent and taken the time to get to know who you are?
Yes.
Your likes, your dislikes, what motivates you? What are your needs? What are your wants? And are you satisfied with the person that you go to sleep with or as every night and wake up as every morning?
Yeah, exactly. I have work on being in love with the person in the mirror who has been through so much, but is still standing. And I mean, that is the story of my life.
Right.
And that is like
Same.
my testament, like legitimately. And, when we talk about, this episode and just kind of being the woman that you needed as a girl, I think that, and we've talked about it before, when you know better, you do better.
Yeah.
Right. And so the things that we wanted potentially as children or little girls is what we try to give to our kids or our daughters today. And so I think maybe some things that, like for me, like words of affirmation, right? Like I have sticky notes in my mirror that like I post and I just read every day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so just being able to talk myself up in like maybe tough times or times that I'm not feeling the greatest is a huge help for me. Having a voice, know my voice matters and my voice is important. And I also make sure that my daughter knows that her opinion matters. It doesn't matter that she's a child. She has a voice and she has an opinion. And I encourage her so much so to use that and not dim that.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting that on the voice part, and then we'll talk about words of affirmation. So my daughter, she has stickies around her room like, you are beautiful, you are smart, you are kind, you are this, you are that. And I'm just like, okay, first of all, I had absolute vodka posters all around my wall, which probably explains a lot.
All right. I had like, girl, like hip hop, like posters, singers, like singers and stuff like that. Like,
we know it was R&B.
It was Tevin Campbell. How you know, bitch? How you know? It was Tevin Campbell all day. Tevin Campbell on the wall, child. Jodeci, all of them.
We know. So, you know, she has this up here, and I'm just like, it wasn't even anything that like I told her to do. She did it on her own. And I always say my daughter is such a cooler version of me. Like I say, I wish I could be you when I grow up.
Right.
And then she's also going back to the voice comment. She talks a lot. She talks a lot, but she has moments where she gets abundantly quiet. And I'm always like, and I'm wondering, are you really just like glazed over, not thinking about anything, or is something going through your mind? And even earlier this week, I asked your daughter the same question. I'm like, what are you thinking? Because both of them kind of went off.
They just go off, child.
This deep stare, glassed over. And I'm like, what are you thinking?
Right.
And she said, nothing. I said, are you thinking about something you just don't want to tell me? She's like, no, I'm really not thinking about anything. And my daughter says the same thing.
That's peace. That's when you
like,
that's peace. That's peace on a whole nother level, child.
I want something.
Exactly. When you could just zone out with your eyes open, child, like
wide open.
That's peace. That's peace on a whole nother level.
And it's not even like we were in a peaceful place. We were in the middle of the Astros parade. Yeah, shout out to the Astros who won the World Series. We were at the parade, and it was chaos and craziness all over the place. And how she was able to find that level of peace
in the middle of all the chaos
of it all.
Girl, wow, I was completely reeling on the inside, child.
But you made.
I pushed through.
You pushed through.
I pushed through. Speaking of like using your sister circle to do things that like you outside of your box and your comfort zone, that was definitely one of them. Yes. So, yeah. But so, how do you show up for yourself? Oh. And do you show up for yourself in the same capacity that you show up for other people?
So I used to show up for other people more than I showed up for myself. Yeah. And as I have attempted to age gracefully, I've realized that I need to pour into myself a little bit more because coming into my late 30s, I realized my cup was empty. So it's probably the last 5 years that I've really decided that, okay, I'm going to make a more conscientious effort to pour into myself. So I am very much obsessed with self-care. Self-care is everything. There are like certain memberships that I just will not give up.
Yeah.
I don't care what's going on. We're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
We might not take the toll road.
Yeah.
Because we're going to use that money for the toll road to make sure that this self-care
something on the freaking budget is paid for, child.
So, I really do believe in just like physical self-care because I feel like when I look good, I feel good.
Yeah.
But then even internally, therapy. Pandemic started, and I felt like I was crawling out of my skin.
Yeah,
crawling out of my skin, and there were moments where I would just like sit and just burst out into tears.
Yeah.
And I said, I need to go to therapy, and started therapy February of 2020 and have not stopped.
Yeah.
I've switched therapists. I've quit on a couple, but feel like we got the right one now. Yeah. But therapy has been so critical for me to just like preserve my sanity.
Yes.
But then to also just make sure that like I'm doing the work and I have someone who's holding me accountable and asking me the difficult questions, and making sure that I am taking care of myself.
Yeah.
So those are some of the ways that I do it. There are other ways too.
We won't get into those, child. I'm with you. I feel like for me though, it's the emotional piece is how I've had to learn to show up for myself because I'm such an empathetic
You
person
are.
and a great listener to other people's problems. I feel deeply for others when they are going through things. I
You
feel their
too.
pain, their sadness, and I take all of that on. And
On a metaphysical level.
like
You
literally,
really do.
like literally, it keeps me up at night sometimes,
Or wakes you up in the
or
middle
wakes
of the
me
night.
up.
Sorry, friend.
Girl,
Love you.
like, bitch, you okay over there?
3 a.m. in the morning.
What's going on? Spirit woke me up.
Spirit. Check on your friend.
It was like, wake up, bitch. Check on your friend. Which one? Nicole.
That's me.
But I had to invest that same level of intuitiveness with myself and understand my triggers, my emotions on just like not a surface level, but a really deep level. Like it's crazy just how much I've been able to unlock. So for me, it's been the showing up for myself on a emotional internal basis and just trying to again nurture the little person in me, you know, a little person who, you know, never felt heard or you know what I mean, you know what I mean? And it's just really trying to um be better, like be in a better emotional place, better mental place, a better spiritual place, and pour into myself the same way that I pour into others when they're dealing with, you know, whatever it is that they're dealing with. So,
well, let me just say, within the last, I mean, I know it's been a conscientious effort for you, but within the last 6, 7, 8 months, I have noticed that difference. I really have. And it's been fantastic to kind of have a front row seat to your growth, your development, your evolution.
You should have met me in my 20s, child.
What I hear, child.
You're the baby. You should
Hell on wheels.
You should have met me back in the day when I was in high school, girl. High school 20s.
Wheels is what I heard.
You know, thank God for deliverance. Oh, I say this a lot. Thank God for deliverance. I have been delivered. I still have work to do, but I am being delivered. But yes, all of the other things too, the items. Like I was never really into makeup, and you know, again, leaning into my tribe, my girls, you know, like getting into those kind of things. Obviously,
you look stunning with or without.
You know what? I've always been a natural person. Sorry,
I thought you were going to say I've always been a natural beauty.
But I have been though. Like facts, facts. Always been a natural person. So this whole like little dabbling into like makeup and all that is something new to me, but I like it. I'm getting better at it. I appreciate it. Like I've had a lot of work. I have a lot of assistance. So, but yeah, thank you.
So you made a comment earlier, and I know we have questions that came in. We told y'all to ask us questions, and y'all did. You came through. So
we love the questions, by the way.
So we're going to take some time to answer them.
Yes.
But you did make a comment just around kind of growing up. And I know I personally did not want this to be a conversation about parents, right? Because at the end of the day,
our parents are great.
They're fantastic, and they did the best that they could with what they had.
Yes.
And I hope my kids say the same.
Girl, they gonna say something else, but it's okay because we did the best that we could. Nobody's unscathed. It's levels.
There's levels.
It's levels.
And the goal is to be a little better than
the last. Exactly.
Generationally, yes. And so I think about my mom, right, who came from a completely different country, came from Jamaica, was very focused on goals, getting things, I guess, making sure that we were positioned to be successful and truly living out that American dream. But with that, so goal focused that didn't necessarily create space for emotion to be present. So if there was a failure, failure was not an option.
Yeah.
And if we were sad on account of something because we weren't chosen, having emotion around that wasn't an option. And so when you ask the question, what are some of the things you do to kind of nurture the little girl that's still inside of me? Those two things do stand out. You know, I make sure that I know that if I don't win every time, I look for the lesson, right?
Yes.
And what was the opportunity there, that the learning opportunity there for me?
Yeah.
And I am very, very much tapped into my emotions now. Like, I used to sit on them to the point where, it they consumed me.
Yeah.
But now when they are at a place where they want to come out, I let them come out.
You do.
I do. I'll be a crybaby.
Girl, you cry in
bitch.
a minute, child. I'll be like, is she crying? Okay, yeah, she is.
I'll be
Okay.
a crybaby. I feel.
Yes,
I feel,
you do. You do.
I feel very deeply, and that's where I think you and I connect. Like,
Yeah.
you feel very deeply and
deep.
intensely, and I feel very deeply. But then the thug tears are gonna come out. But like, I allow myself to have those moments because sitting on them feels very inauthentic.
Yes.
So, I allow myself to show up authentically in those spaces because if not, I mean, go back to the last episode, trying to live up to a standard that society has kind of placed on me. And at the end of the day,
and sitting on all those emotions is detrimental. Trust me, I know. It's
the worst.
Girl, it eats you from the inside out. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, I think it's crying is just a release at this point for me.
Yes.
Because sitting on that and even talking through it, you know what I mean? Like, not just crying it out, but being able to communicate the feeling and put words to that. And that's been the work for me, right? Being able to verbalize and speak to what I'm feeling, my emotions, why I'm feeling the way that I'm feeling, right? Has been super important. And so, yeah, I agree with you 1,000%. Like, letting that shit out it's non-negotiable at this point.
It has to be.
It has to be.
Because think about it. It's like a pressure cooker. You gotta slowly let the steam out. And if you don't, what's gonna happen? It's gonna be overpressurized, burnt piece of
and the
oxtail.
top is gonna blow.
Yes.
It's gonna blow top.
What you mean? Anyway. I feel like probably a good segue to the questions.
Yes.
We had some really great questions that were asked a lot, but we're not going to go through all of them.
No, we're gonna do some tonight. Maybe a couple tonight, and then do a couple next week.
Okay.
So we're just gonna kind of replace what's popping with the questions.
Refill you.
Oh, girl,
I'm not leaving here with a whole.
I know, but I just wish that you just slow it down, Jenny.
What? Slow down the pores?
Slow down the pores, child.
What do you want, glass 2?
I don't even know, because when the champagne starts pouring, I start drinking really fast.
I told somebody, I was like, when the champagne starts coming, my mouth gets reckless. So.
It just does. Like, I'm like, I feel like I'm drinking way too fast. But anyway, so we got a question. The question is, should a married person be friends with an ex?
No.
And why?
You made a decision to get married and you took vows. And marriage is it's a commitment. It's a serious commitment. And unless like you are in business with that ex and there's a need for a conversation.
Yeah.
Which I don't know why you would still be in business.
Business with an ex, right?
Yeah, no. I mean, let that thing go. Doors are closed. Doors closed for a reason. Trust the universe.
Yeah.
And that relationship didn't work out. You chose to move on and to level up. And so, no. Why?
Exactly. I agree. I say no as well. I feel like, to your point, the relationship ended for a reason. I mean, you were once intimate with this person. They've seen you inside and out.
They've seen the jewels and the quick cat.
They've seen all of it, I mean, I don't know. Like, if your partner or the person that you're with is not comfortable with it as a married person, then I would just say no. I mean, it's just not worth it. Like, why? Like, interrupt the peace in your relationship to be friends with somebody who you once dated and it just didn't work out.
Yeah, I used to use this analogy around like doors being left open. And when you have doors that are left open, anybody can kind of like
creep through.
slide under, just open the door, kick the door down.
Yeah.
And so it's best to just ensure that those doors are
close
closed.
them and lock them. And exes always spin the block, and they always spin the block.
Child, I had an ex try to spin the block like 3 or 4 months ago. I was like,
what?
I rang the alarm. But ex from 14, 15 years ago.
See, when I'm talking 14 and 15 years, they spinning the block after 15 years. That is ridiculous. And my mom used to always say, like, this is, back in the day, I had this ex who would just constantly spin the block. And I would be like, Mom, is so-and-so reached out. And she was just like, girl, he don't want nothing. And he didn't. He didn't want nothing. All he wanted to see is if he reached out, if I would be open to a conversation.
Yeah.
He did not want an absolute thing. Like, he would be like, let's go do this and do that, and never follow through. So they don't want nothing. They just want to see sometimes, most of the times, if the door is still open to them.
Yeah. And I think it's really important to just go back in time and think about, like, what's the reason why y'all broke up? Did you leave the situation or did they leave the situation? And, I'm a firm believer of, don't stay where you're not welcome and don't stay where you're not valued. And so if there was any of that held true, keep them doors closed, deadlock, bolted up.
Yeah.
Do what you got to do.
Yeah.
Move on. Be happy with your married self.
Exactly. So our answer is no. We do not think it's okay to be friends with an ex if you're married. Next question.
So, oh my gosh, it's on my phone.
I have it.
You have it?
Okay, yeah. So the next question is, what's the impact of social media on relationships or marriages? Were they better off before the social media era?
Oh gosh. So we kind of talked about this with our collab with Cruise Season. And, one of the things that I had said was, don't believe what you see on social media, because social media tries to paint a very fairy tale-esque picture of how relationships are and potentially should be. And the reality is that relationships, it's blood, sweat, and tears, and roll your sleeves up.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, and I'm not trying to take away from it, because I think on the other side of it and the benefit of being in a relationship is so much greater than what I'm about to say. But I mean, it's like clocking into your second and or third job, right? It's work.
It's every day.
If you want it to be something that feels fulfilling, it's work. And so what you miss out on when you're looking at social media is how much work actually goes into being in a successful and happy relationship. So what social media does, it's like a commercial, right? It shows the best parts of it, but it doesn't show the reality where there are times where shit feels miserable and deplorable.
Yeah.
But you have to figure out how you want to work with your partner to get out of that.
Yeah.
So I do think social media has glamorized relationships, and I do think TV has also glamorized relationships, especially when you look at these reality shows, right?
Yeah.
Of people, these wedding reality shows.
Yeah.
Of people who seemingly look so happy and so in love. But remember, those cameras shut off at some point, and
reality sets in.
Reality sets in, and we're not seeing what their life is like 24/7. If anything, we're seeing them at the peak and height of their in loveness, if you will. We're not seeing them on the other side when they realize, oh, we're not planning a wedding. Oh, now we have to actually figure out how to
make this shit
exist with each other right now that the cameras are on.
Yeah.
So I think you've got to take social media with a grain of salt and realize that not all that glitters is gold, and relationships require work. Yeah. And don't believe what you see on social media.
I agree. I think that a lot of people compare themselves, their lives, to what they see on social media. And I don't think that's healthy, because to your point, you see the glitz, you don't see the behind the scenes of what happens when they're not posting the good things.
Right.
I also think that it makes it difficult for people to trust. I think that is such a tool that is used for people who want to do slick shit, because you literally have a plethora of women, men at your fingertips. and all you have to do is just like slide in a DM, right? So I think that it increases the level of temptation. And so if you have a person who can't necessarily control themselves, I think it can pose an issue in a relationship, because it's not like, okay, I have to go out, meet a person. Now you can just talk to a person behind a fucking DM or whatever it is. And so many people
firewall.
have got caught up in like the DMs. I mean, we talked about Adam Levine and in his situation, reaching out to the Instagram model and sending her a DM and starting a relationship off that way. And I just think that if a person does not have the self-control that it takes to refrain from that type of activity, then that can also pose a problem or issue in the relationship. And so the second part of the question, were they better off before the social media era? I would say yes and no, because for all the bad, I think that comes along with social media, I also think that there's good. I mean, there's a lot of really great pages on social media that talks about how to have a healthy marriage, how to have a healthy relationship. So I think if your algorithm is kind of tailored,
clean it up.
Yeah, clean your algorithm. Yeah, we do.
Clean up your algorithm.
If your algorithm is, cleaned and tailored to only display the good in which social media has to offer and the things that are pouring into you and your relationship, I think it can be a benefit. But if not, child, it's a mess. You have to really be careful. It's a slippery
it's a
slope.
fight for your life situation.
Right.
It's a fight for your life situation.
Fight for your life.
I think we underestimate. So social media, we try to make it seem like it is an entity that we are fighting against. But I really want to just encourage people to understand that like we can manage what comes our way. Like my algorithm is rhythming right now based on what the fuck is going on in my life.
First of all, she was just like, I've cleaned out my algorithm.
Yeah,
I'm like, what are you talking about? She was like, I
had to clean it up, and now it is on beat. We are in a rhythmic dance.
Right.
And like, if I had not cleaned it up, I promise you, it would have me in a very different headspace right now than where I am today.
That's true. And you have to be intentional and mindful about like the images, the content that you let into your space, in your mental space.
Because your spirit will be taken over by it.
It will.
And you think that it is happening to you. But I implore you all to understand that you have control over it and you are happening to it. So if you take the steps to be very intentional about the accounts that you follow, the accounts that you unfollow,
that you like,
and the things that you like, and the content that you comment on, you will have better alignment than you realize.
Yeah. And I also think it's a distraction too. Like a lot of times I'm out, eating dinner on a date with my own husband or with you all, and I see a couple together and all you see is like both of them like this on their phones scrolling through Instagram. And I just think that's ridiculous. And I just think that social media can also be a distraction if you don't watch it, you know what I mean? And put a limitation on when you will and won't allow yourself to be consumed by it.
I agree. Life is about balance. And so I always use the concept of over-indexing. Avoid over-indexing on anything in life, whether it's a friendship, a relationship, alcohol, TV, social media, sex, whatever the case may be. Find balance.
Okay, and with that, we're gonna toast to that.
Yeah, you don't want to over-index on sex.
You're right, you don't. Okay.
You have a whole porn addiction. We talked about
it. No, we talked about it, but and Tamara said there's no such thing. And she also said there's no such thing as having too much sex. So you can't over-index on sex, child. But that's okay. All right. I digress.
You do digress.
I digress. Because we're going to go ahead and wrap this episode. Right. Okay. We're going to cheers now or after, child? Okay, follow us. Okay, thank you guys for tuning into the show.
We're going to make it. Okay, thank you so much for tuning into the Champagne Wines podcast. Listen, a whole lot of y'all have started to follow us. And
we love you.
Like big hearts. Big hearts.
Big hearts, big eyes.
And we are wrapping up season 3. We're not done yet, so don't trip. But we are on the downside of this season. And it has taken us through the ringer, but we have been here. We have shown up. And
we pushed through.
We pushed through, and it's because we love y'all. And we are so excited for all of the new folks that have joined the train, joined the ride, and so excited about season 4 and all the episodes that we're going to have for y'all. So stick around, stay tuned. But if you want to follow us, you can follow us on Champagne Wives Podcast on Instagram, TikTok, Champagne Wives _podcast. We're going to get better at TikTok because we have dropped the ball on TikTok. And then on YouTube, Champagne Wives Podcast. We're there. Thank y'all. We love
Watch our videos and subscribe.
Yeah, like and subscribe on YouTube.
Yeah.
I mean, Instagram, y'all are going hard, and we love y'all for that.
Yes. YouTube. And keep submitting your questions.
Yes, because we don't have all the answers, but we're going to tell you from our perspective.
If we don't know the answers, we're going to find out.
We're going to find out.
We'll do our research.
That's what happens when you got earth signs, child. So anyway, cheers to you.
Cheers, babe.
Love you, boo.
Love
Bye,
you.
y'all.
Bye, y'all.